I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Libra for April 2017. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, see what's new on my blog, and sign up for my free email newsletter where you will get a monthly write-up of the stars ahead every month, a month early. So what's going on in the month of April? We are still in the midst of these retrograde energies, being the earthworm, going back over old ground, finishing unfinished business. We have Venus retrograde until the middle of the month. Then we start, right before that, we start Mercury retrograde until the beginning of May. So we've got signs this month of the forward movement that wants to come in May and after. But we still have a time where we're wrapping things up. So I'll go more into that when we talk about general astrology. But first, I want to talk about something specific for Libra. So I have not spoken to the transiting North Node in the horoscope chart before, so I'm going to start out doing that. The North Node in the natal chart represents our highest expression in this lifetime. I don't let anyone get out of a session with me, nor do I let my apprentices let anyone get out of a session with them without focusing on this North Node, because everyone needs to know what their highest expression in this lifetime is, right? So when we're talking about the North Node in transit, the transit is showing us current keys where we focus our energies that will help bring our personal highest expression into alignment. And for early, middle, and late degree Libra placements, this is showing up in the 11th house. The 11th house has to do with, and these things I'm about to list are where your keys for happiness are. The group, working with the group, within the group, leading the group, working with teams, your friends, friendships, social circles, acquaintances, internet-based connections or internet-based businesses or projects, humanitarian efforts, community projects, things for the greater good, anything having to do with technology of any kind, advancement or innovation or patents or inventions are all the 11th house. A general theme for Libra with this North Node transit here is that friendships and connecting with people in the form of a group are going to hold keys for your happiness and your advancement. And that can very well come through the connections that you have in the group. It could also come from the support that you have in the group. There are so many people walking around feeling disconnected. And with the many ills that the technology age has brought us, there are so many valuable things. And one of those things is the opportunity to connect with people that you might not usually get to connect with. And people who might not be outwardly social or into going into groups live. The internet can bring opportunities to connect with people in meaningful ways. This 11th house could also be meeting with groups live or social interactions that are live, not just through the internet. But the energy of connecting with groups is part of the key to your happiness. So I just wanted to mention that little tidbit about the North Node. So for early, middle, and late degree placements, we have a strong focus on the 7th house. The early degree placements have the sun and will be, Venus will get there again through the 7th. The middle degree placements have Mercury and some Mars. Some of you have Mars. The late degree placements have Mars. Mars is the energy of the border collie, and really any of these personal planet energies, the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, when you have one of those planets moving through a certain house, it brings a short-term time of focus. So regardless of why, all Libra placements have this short-term focus on relationships, personal relationships of every kind, clients, spousal relationships, friendships with a neighbor of consequence, any kind of business relations, one-on-one connections with people. So these are being highlighted. When the energy of the sun or any of these placements really move through there, it's like showing you the things that are working well and showing you the things that are not working well. So there could be points of conflict that come up in this relationship space, but they're only intended to serve the creation of more valuable relationships from this focus. When the sun is there, it's like a giant spotlight. Whenever you bring a giant spotlight into a dark room, you can see things you hadn't seen before, and that can be awesome because you can find something you're looking for. Or you can see some gross things that you don't want to know about, but now that you see them, you can kind of deal with them, And that's part of what the retrograde energies are really bringing up anyway, is things that we haven't wanted to look at, looking at them, addressing them so that we can move on from them. Most things that we fear never really happen. Is that a quote from Mark Twain? Like 99% of the things we worry about never happen. But in any case, it's this, this energy of dealing with something that is between you and the success of your relationship. That's a very current focus for all early, middle, and late degree placements. For a longer term focus, I want to talk about Saturn. So all early, middle, and late degree placements will have the energy of Saturn in the third house. Your later degree placements, so people with your birthday towards the end of the sign, you'll also have some energy of Saturn still in the second house, especially as it goes into retrograde here this month. But you'll still have the third house themes that I'm going to share that the earlier placements are having. Saturn can bring difficulties, challenges, obstacles, but Saturn can also bring manifestation and fruition. Every sign, every placement, every transit has an upside and a downside potential. There are ranges of potential expression of each of these placements. So when Saturn moves through the third house of communication, of siblings, cousins, relationships that are not parents or kids, basically, aunts, uncles, etc., there could be hardships or challenges in those relationships, or difficulties with devices, or difficulties with transportation or vehicles or things like that, or mobility in some ways is sort of stomped on in some way energetically. But the other end of it is you could pull in the perfect communication devices, the perfect way of communicating with people, the perfect car, all of this stuff. Now, this month of April is not really the month to buy anything new if you can help it. This Saturn energy is more of a long-term theme that's going on, that over the course of the cycle, these things can be worked out, but I just wanted to point that out because in the midst of the retrograde energies is the best time to buy a new device if you can help it. And if you have to buy a new device, then get the extra warranty on it, keep your paperwork, and pay attention to where you put your paperwork in case you have to bring it back, because there's more of a chance that you will have to bring it back. Okay, so Saturn wants you, when it's moving in the third house, it wants you to build better communication with people, period. That's one of the big themes. If you have been working on communicating with people, and that, by the way, it's not just people, it's communicating with things in the unseen realms. For people who are into esoteric things, communicating with angels and guides and fairies and whatever else, it's the energy of communication, period. It doesn't matter what you're communicating with. It's fine-tuning your craft of communication. If you are a writer or an editor or looking to share your expression in some way, Saturn is making you hone your gifts. It's fine-tuning this process of your expression. Some people will be experiencing the desire to push out past stage fright or past, fifth chakra, or things that seem like past life or whatever you want to call them, issues that are interfering with their communication. The Saturn transit could be bringing that up. And there are lots of tools for that. There's a really great homeopathic remedy called Gelsemium, Gelsemium, and that's the standard homeopathic remedy for stage fright. There are things like this. There's EFT tapping, EFT for fear of sharing your light. I definitely recommend past life regression for anyone who is drawn to such things, because there could be something in there for you. In any case, regardless of how it's affecting you, if you have been having your chops busted by it, and I call Saturn a chop buster, so many people probably have, when it goes into retrograde, which will be the 5th or 6th of this month, depending on your time zone, you will have a little bit of a break from this until August 25th when it goes direct. So it's like an integration period. It's a time to take in the information about this chop busting or whatever has been coming up. It's a time to take that information in and integrate it so that you can more thoroughly use it. And for some of you, you may just have a whole bunch of really cool things come to fruition for communication and transportation, or things involving certain relatives. And if that's the case, then yay. We love that. So these are the things that are specifically on my mind for Libra. Now I want to talk about the sweet spots and the challenging days to look out for in the month of April. I'm calling the theme of April, the general astrology transits that will affect everyone. Wrap it up. We still have a major focus on retrograde energy. We started this theme in December of 2016, and every month until now, we've had a personal planet retrograde and or the shadow period of a personal planet retrograde. So, this idea of taking unfinished business and clearing it up so that when we move forward and we have these signs of moving forward, especially towards the end of April, when Mars gets into Gemini and the energy really starts to stir up, we'll have this feeling of where we're going, this long-awaited actual movement on an external level in the outer realms. But this month of April is a time to wrap it up. It's a time to resolve unfinished business. When I was planning these horoscopes, I was sitting one day in a place that had inspirational quotes flashing across the screen. And there was one that said, "There's more to life than increasing its speed." And that was by Mahatma Gandhi. And I really, really liked that as something to mention for this month, because the energy of retrograde is just the antidote to this over-busy, over-scheduled world. So the more we can take stock of things closer to home, take stock of internal events. It's not that you can't say yes to opportunities that come in your external realms. Of course, it's fine to do things. Just know that new things that seem to come in a retrograde time often will change their terms compared to what you agreed to, or they might be shorter term than you anticipate. That doesn't have to be a problem. That doesn't mean you can't activate it. It's just an awareness to have. But as far as intentionally doing something, it just lends itself to shorter term contracts, and it lends itself to wrapping up unfinished business. So we've got this theme that continues through April. Like I said, at the end of the month, you'll start to see things stirring up as far as like actual authentic outer movements coming soon. So I want to talk about some of the aspects that are going to be relevant this month. I'm going to give you a list of some of them, but you can get a more complete list when you go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, and sign up for my free email newsletter. I do a write-up for the upcoming month, and I send that out a month early as well, to give you more details of days that have good energy, days that have challenging energy, and how to, what you might expect with those things. But here's a more summarized list. We start out the month with a really great burst of energy with Mars in Taurus trining Pluto in Capricorn. Mars rules action and Pluto rules transformation, and a trine is the best aspect in astrology. So, you might see something come in that that could be notable, or you might use that time to try to get something done that's important. The same days, like April 5th, April 6th, Saturn's going to go retrograde. When an outer planet goes retrograde, there are different effects than when an inner planet goes retrograde, because outer planets spend a very long period of time retrograde, and inner planets, the ones closer to us, they go retrograde in a different type of cycle. They're not retrograde as long as these outer planets. But in any case, when Saturn goes retrograde, I see it actually as getting a break from Saturn's chop busting. Saturn is the disciplinarian, is the taskmaster. It wants you to do something, to be on point, to step it up, to work really hard, to work smarter, to do all of this stuff, have all these lessons in the signs and houses that it's moving through. When it goes in retrograde, it actually eases up a little bit, where your to-do list is more manageable, where you can integrate the lessons, where you get a break. So I'm excited about the Saturn in retrograde for all of us, and that will be from around April 5th or 6th, depending on your time zone, until August 25th. Then we have on April 7th. Now I'm giving you the dates that these happen, but we can feel the effects of planetary transits before or after the actual day that they happen. So just be aware of that. So on April 7th, we have this yearly Sun opposing Jupiter clash. And this time the Sun is in Aries and Jupiter is in Libra. So this theme that we had quite a bit of last month through major outer planet connections, we have another little burst of this. So Aries is me, Libra is we. So it's like someone's individuality is conflicting with something in relationship or a relationship obligation or an opinion of someone you're in relationship with. So that could bring a moment, in relationships where there's a clash there. On April 10th, we have the full moon, and that's at 21 degrees of Libra. This full moon is going to be conjunct Jupiter and square Pluto. All of the planets, all of the signs, all of the placements have a potential to have positive or negative effects. Sometimes we think about Jupiter as having positive luck-bringing effects, and that can often be true. When Jupiter is sitting next to something else, like an event like a full moon, it amplifies it. Full moons are intense already. So the completion, the fruition, something coming to be in the areas of Libra might be more intense or more expanded. So something notable with relationship, someone coming to an agreement, something coming to a closure, and some sort of, something with an interpersonal relationship will probably be the theme there. And the square to Pluto usually means that there's some sort of, person with some control or entity with some control that is not making the situation easier. Usually some sort of force that just seems like it's working against you. So I always like to leave a little room around the full moons because they're often emotional, and you might want to have the space to tend to whatever comes up there, whether it's a great positive thing coming to fruition that you want to be present for, or whether it's a challenge that's going to be emotional and you'll need a little time to recover. I think it's a good idea to leave some space around that full moon, which is on April 10th. On April 16th, there is a nice angle between Venus in Pisces and Mars in Taurus that could bring resolutions in relationships. So it's possible that that full moon accentuates this issue, and that maybe this Venus-Mars aspect could bring some sort of accord back into the picture. On April 17th, there's a beautiful angle between the Sun, which is in Aries, and Saturn, which is in Sagittarius. So this could bring a boost to long-term goals or something that you've been working on for a while, some sort of positive energy there. And then on April 19th or the 20th, depending on where you are, the Sun in Aries is conjunct Mercury. Now, the energy, or actually by then it's in Taurus. So it's the Sun in Taurus conjunct Mercury. So this is going to bring a dose of realism and or a dose of productivity. Whenever planets get together, they have an amplified effect. Sometimes the effects can be a positive experience, sometimes the effects can be a negative experience. The Sun amplifies, Mercury is communication or information or news. So I see it as a realism or productive, something bringing productivity around that time. Then on April 21st and the days around there, especially watch your security on all levels and other private and personal information, because Venus in Pisces is going to square Saturn and Sag, and Saturn can bring some hard lessons and want some details attended to. And Venus rules money and love, and Pisces is stuff kind of going on in the backdrop. So just, be cautious of your personal things in the backdrop, especially around that time. Then on April 24th, we have Mercury in Aries making this beautiful aspect to Saturn and Sag, just like the Sun did a few days before. So this can bring in good news or more boosts to long-term goals. There are some themes that I'm seeing, a theme that I'm seeing this month because of a lot of pretty nice Saturn aspects, are these boosts to long-term goals. Now, even though we're in the midst of something, this retrograde energy that's kind of like a short-term energy or a going backwards energy, but if you've been working over this time to see to details in the backdrop, you might see these Saturn aspects really start to light up, showing the work that you've done is actually getting somewhere. On or around the 26th, you'll feel that new moon energy, and that's going to be at 6 degrees of Taurus. New moons are times to make wishes. You can check out my video, Making Wishes Come True. If you just search for Annie, Making Wishes Come True, you can learn more about how you can use these new moon energies. But basically you get 10 wishes at each new moon, and the more you align your wishes to the energies of the sign that the moon is in, the more easily the universe can bring those wishes into fruition. I also have a blog up on my website, anniehelpsyou.com, called Making Powerful New Moon in Taurus Wishes, that you can use specifically for this moon on the 26th. So Taurus energy rules money, finances, self-sufficiency, connectedness to earth, or eco-friendly types of things, earth sustainability projects. Also values, so anything along those lines will get a bigger boost when you wish for them around this time. Then around the 28th, and it's very close to this new moon energy, enough so that these energies could blend together, you could have electrifying experiences or information come in because Mercury is conjunct Uranus. And this is happening in Aries. So you really, anytime you have something involving Uranus, you got to look out for surprises. When it's in Aries, which it has been and is going to be for a while, you have to guard your physicality, especially your head. So, something, you moving along and something bumping your head, the odds of that are increased during that time. So just watch yourself. Now, the odds are just as likely as information will bonk into your head, as opposed to the literal hitting into your head, insights, sudden breakthroughs. It's a really great time for brainstorming. Whenever I see aspects like this with Uranus, I really love it for brainstorming on any topic. Then we close out the month, April 30th, with this energy of Saturn and Sagittarius with Chiron and Pisces. Chiron is the wounded healer. It's an asteroid that really shows us how we have deep levels of woundedness and how that shows up in our lives and how we can make our weakest link become a blessing and a major strength in our lives. So at this time, there could be opportunities for great forgiveness to occur of self and others, and transcending the issue of feeling like a victim. So these are the things that are most on my mind for the general astrology for the month of April. Definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, where you can see more about my professional development courses. You can keep track of the registration for my astrology apprenticeship program, my coach certification and online business course. If you'd love to be a professional coach, help people reach their goals, that is one of the things I'm really good at, and I love to teach people how to help other people to do that. You can check that out. And I also teach my Creating Successful Online Business course if you would like to bring your business online and be free of your geography. So sign up for my email newsletter to get my monthly report. See what's new on my blog at anniehelpsyou.com. Have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.